We are live. Hey, this is Mike Ratner. I am, like I'm saying in the introduction, a social scientist and kind of examine things. What's going on in our world, baby? What's happening? So what's happening in your world? What's going on for you today? Today's November 1st. It's a Friday. Lots going on, new month. Elections coming up in the U.S. I'm sure the whole world's talking about it. So I want to talk about presence, what it means in the way that we show up. And if you're not familiar with my work, you can go to my name, MikeRatner.com, or which I'm going to talk about today, a little bit about the IGO, and my podcast, which is Mike'sMastermind.com. So this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek type stuff in my approach because I'm talking about my work, but at the same time, I want to be a bit lighthearted in it because it's sort of like, do I take myself seriously? Well, yes and no. The work, I think, is very serious, but who is this person that shows up that writes about it? I'm just a character, and in my perceived many ways of showing up and the way that I'm and how I describe ultra being is simply talking about how and the quality of how we're present. So present in the way that, we are able to relate to each other, but also what is my sense of being here and now, what's present. And I talk about this as ultra being more as a philosophy or more technically what's called ontology, which is a philosophy in the sense of examining existence and the quality in the way that we're being. So in defining ultra being, I'm examining what the possibilities are for quote unquote enlightenment. So whatever that would be defined by you, what would this expression be as an equation or a quotient that gives your life more meaning, value, and perspective in the way of living it more with purpose and passion. So you can find out more about this in my collection it's a tidbit sampler of writing. It's called grandtourideas.com, grandtourideas.com, and I'm sure I put it into the description, grandtourideas.com. You can click, it leads to other pages. And it's a growing body of work. It's really a cosmology, and cosmology being sort of explaining things in the sense of if we're talking about a conscious undertaking and exploration of what this ultra beingness is, we can sort of play it out in a way that I'm going to talk about right now in how we show up, and it's examined of presence. So if we really kind of get down to the brass tacks and go, well, what's it really all about? It's how we're being in the here and now, like the Power of Now book and all these other examinations of sort of what does it mean to be present? Well, that's all that there really is this moment, right? Anything else reflected upon past or future takes you out of simply just being present. Now, of course, there could be reasons for contemplatively considering what the future could be, what we want is our potential to unfold and growing in our consciousness so we can experience more of these states of enlightenment. And that makes the present more valuable, more as a gift, right? Because what else is the present other than the appreciation of the here and now? So this moment, if we're going to define mastery, has to be sort of this contemplation of how I'm showing up, because mastery can only be demonstrated in the moment. Anything else is sort of a projection made up, and then sort of it's false, right? Because someone who calls themselves a guru and a master who's saying, hey, man, I'm cool, and next minute they're throwing chairs around the room, that's not it for me. So yes, maintaining cool, compassion, and really being complete in the sense that, as we are simply present, we're empty. And we could look at other teachers and people who contemplate these ideas, like Deepak Chopra, who offers his advice as being more or less living in the gap. He talks about being between thoughts, and this is where we ought to be. So I talk about in the sense of I-awareness, which one of my teachers, Dr. David Jubb, also known as Happy Face in the urban shaman tradition, really was an influence on me because in his world, in the urban tribe world, I'm known as the gray wolf, and I show up in different ways in the way that I'm being with particular groups and how they know me and how they sort of regard and treat me. Really a valuable lesson in talking about I-awareness. So people talk about all sorts of I-awareness. There's one I-awareness, it's I-awareness versus something that could be perceived out there or aware what somebody else is potentially saying something or doing something. This I-awareness is really sort of having some sense of I. Now, I talk about this in my work with IGO, which a lot of it is sort of made up in our minds. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. So if we define it as the ways of our ultra being present, we tend to sort of all take a flight every day, each one of us. And I define it as TWA, the flight we take every day. Now, other traditions have talked about this. I put it into acronyms. I love that sort of format because acronyms, which are letters that stand for something, sort of give it a bit more depth and meaning, and plus it's a memory aid. And TWA was the name of an old airline, Trans World Airlines. TWA, in my realm of examining eye awareness, is having some awareness of your thoughts. What is it that you're thinking? This is what's manifested or made present. So if you're thinking of the past, projections of the future, or lost in a fantasy, binge watching Netflix or YouTube shorts, well, to have some sense of awareness of what it is that one is thinking is part of the TWA, and the W stands for the words. What words are we associating into our thinking that we're giving other people? The quality of life sentences and sort of expressions and repeated thoughts that then become things that we are now talking about to other people. And then what is it we're actualizing? How are we acting? In this way, how are we showing up? And sometimes actions speak louder than words. So TWA, thoughts, words, and actions. And if we have this sort of as an in the moment sort of self-realization or actualization of I, being aware of how I am in this dimension, we could say begins to sort of create sort of this sense of how we are showing up, this presence. And for most people, they probably never really give it much regard. But for those of us, it's sort of like, well, if I have this value to how I'm present, because this is all that there is, then to wake up, to have some sort of finer sense of this awareness is going to allow for self-liberation. And self-liberation in Guy Finley's work is about letting go. Really a great author and friend, worthwhile looking up. Guy, his teacher, Vernon Howard, and influences from many different traditions and teachings bring together sort of the best of the possibilities of what it is that, if we're going to be examining our life and what brings meaning, and if we're going to have some sense of who it is that is present or manufactured in the way that we show up, it's worthwhile to let the junk go so we can be a bit more pristine and be able to sort of tap into whatever this source is, right? Ultra being that's felt, that's true, and that can be shared in a realm that then perhaps through what I would describe as a loving conversation between me and you, or it could be in a group, to be able to share openly what's most felt and what's valuable and what's being considered in this realm is something that to me is dynamic. And if we were to define anything as being spiritual or lofty in the realm of being conscious, of being finely attuned, this element could be defined as enriched, right? And it begins with being empty, right? Letting it go. Now I can have sort of refinement on what it is that I'm thinking, and is it valuable? Is there something that needs to be worked out? Or maybe it was just thinking. I can now let it go and then improve the value of the relationships through how it is that I'm showing up and what it is that I'm expressing through my words and how am I acting. And I can let that go too. It doesn't have to be an act. It can be quite natural. So we are talking about self-liberation. And if we talk about this as a movement, maybe expressed through a friendship, fellowship that is a collective that gives meaning and perhaps membership and community through conversations and maybe some charitable acts and activities. To me, it is this conversation of consciousness that through community, we can begin to become a bit more enriched in our life and add a contribution into community that then, if we're going to define it at some level, does help uplift, right? What a great dynamic or way of ultra being present. What else would be the gift, right? To come from this dimension of love. Now, I have this formula. If you find it more on mikesmastermind.com, which is my podcast, mikesmastermind.com, I talk about ultra being. To define this level of ultra being as a formula, I call it UBE3. I love those acronyms, UBE3. And it's based on Gandhi's dictum of you be the change. Be the change you want to see in the world. You want something to change? Be this representation of it, this emissary of the work. If you're going to call it enlightenment or Byron Katie, the work, just having a sense of what this is, that you're representative of something and the way that you show up, what's meaningful, valuable, and purpose, in the way that we can express it. Maybe it's your passion. And if it comes from love and a place that's truth, well, what more can be asked for, right? You're able to receive and you're present to acknowledge and you're available because you've let that stuff go. There's a greater sense of ultra beingness that's going to allow in this dimension to be free And isn't that the greatest gift that we can give others, is to let them be who they are? And we might have something in mind, and we can check things out. And I talk about this also in Mike's Mastermind, how we can have a dynamic that's really karma-free. I call it like the tie. You have a really great relationship tie, and a tie that ties in lovingly. And TIE, another acronym, just basically has respect for another person's time, their interest, and their energy, their ability to engage. And this is the kind of environment that, I take a stand for. And it's very, you could say, lovingly engaging in the way that you're invited to this. It's very warm and welcoming in the way that we keep it real, relevant, and it's right on. And it's easygoing. If it's going to be enlightening, it has to be easy. And it shows consideration for the company you keep, and it's always kind. So again, you can find more about this at mikesmastermind.com. And the delivery of how we're present, this is the gift, and it's a contemplation of this, and this is my work. And I call it the CARES model, CARES, CARES, where it's community action research. It qualifies itself on engagement. What is this quality of engagement that we can then define as enlightening? And how can we enlighten it? Woo. Again, my name is Mike Ratner and I'm. This is the science and the setting that I wish to create. I love your feedback and participation, whether it's a community conversation, a friendship, fellowship, coming together. It's great because I love it. And I so much desire this quality of connection. It's going to uplift humanity and raise us all up in our consciousness, however you define it. All right, well, thank you so much. I hope you got something out of it. Again, you can contact me or look me up at mikeratner.com and my works and links, mikesmastermind.com and so forth. Thanks again, okay? It's really great. And this is a new PC. I'm going to end the session right now. Woo! First time doing a live stream with the new PC. Oh, you want to know what it is? HP Envy. Talk to you soon.